Hi, OhSheReads here. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about some of my recent reads. These are books that I've read in the past month, and I've read more books than this, but I will be having kind of an official wrap-up video later on. These are just books that I kind of wanted to get out of the way to make my wrap-up video a little bit shorter, and I might even be breaking up that video a little bit more. I don't know yet. But I also will be having a wrap-up going on for the Read Your Bookshelf-a-thon, which I am participating in this week. So keep your eye out for that wrap-up, or perhaps by the time you're watching this, it's already up. If it is, I will definitely link it in this video. Alright, straight into the books. The first book I want to talk about is actually the Forever Young Book Club pick of the month for the month of February. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can click in an annotation I will put somewhere in this video. I'm not quite sure where, somewhere where it will take you to the kind of introductory video talking about the book club. But in a nutshell, it is a children's lit book club that I am doing with a few other booktube friends. And for February, we read One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia. This was our pick I picked this because it was the winner of the Coretta Scott King Award, and we were honoring Black History Month that month. So it took me quite a while to finish this. I started in February and I just finished it now in May. So it took me a long time to get through this, but this is an amazing read. I really enjoyed this. I would recommend this to all ages. This is somewhere between children and middle grade. It kind of falls comfortably in the middle because the main protagonist is 11 years old, and then her little sisters, I believe there is a 7-year-old little sister and like a 5-year-old sister, so they range in, their ages range. So, but I would recommend this to literally everybody. It was such a delightful read. I loved the main character. She was so amazing. I really enjoyed being inside of her head. She's feisty and strong and intelligent and witty, and you cannot pull the wool over her eyes. She is really something. I really enjoyed it. Her name is Delphine, and her sisters are Vanetta and Fern. And Delphine is the oldest. She is in charge of her sisters, and their mother left them when they were very young, so she also takes a motherly role with them. They travel to Oakland, California to visit their mother after not seeing her for many years, and Fern, the youngest, has never even met her. She does not remember her. Right after their mother, Cecile, gave birth to Fern, she abandoned the family. So they've been growing up with their father, their grandmother and grandfather in Brooklyn, New York. So they travel all the way to Oakland, California to meet their mother. This is in the summer of 1968, which is during one of the most racially explosive summers in our nation's history. They inadvertently begin to take part in a Black Panthers organization. They start going to the summer camps, and it's kind of about how their mother is also involved and how things unravel from there. I cannot recommend this enough. It is written so well, and you can really tell that Rita Williams Garcia put a lot of thought into this novel. She was growing up during that summer, so she has personal experience with what she was writing, and the characters are so well thought out, well fleshed out, and fully realized and imagined. The writing is beautiful, and just everything. I gave this 5 stars. What I also really loved about this was how their kind of rocky relationship with their mother was never sugar-coated. It was very realistic, and I think that the way the girls felt towards their mother and sort of the tentative truce that went on between them and their mother while they were visiting her was very real. Nothing was glossed over, and everything happened, I think, in a very realistic way that would happen in a situation like this. It was not a fairy tale by any means. And the girls didn't look at things like they were a fairy tale. They looked at things very realistically. And I think it's because they were 3 Black girls growing up in this time period. They were exposed to so many things, and just the way the world viewed them. So many great things in this book. I really recommend. Next book I finished, well, not next in order, but the next book I want to talk about is of Poseidon by Anna Banks, which is book 1 in the Serena Legacy trilogy, which I gave this one 3 stars, and I really wanted to give it 2.5 stars, but I gave it another half a star just for pure entertainment value. However, I did have a lot of problems with this novel. I felt that it was very childishly written. Maybe I was just too old for it, but just the writing itself felt very childish and immature in a lot of ways. And I think it's because the characters felt very immature and just, I don't know. I don't want to say underdeveloped, but that's the word that's coming to mind. Our main protagonist, Emma, was interesting. She was not, to me, fully fleshed out. She felt almost like a caricature or a stereotype with a little bit of meat on its bones, but not enough to make her a realized character. I don't know if that made sense. And the love interest, Galen, I really did not like him. I found him to be overbearing and just almost a bully, and he was supposed to be this alpha male type, but I don't think he was appealing at all. There was nothing redeeming about him. That's harsh, but I did not care for him at all. The problem I had with this, my main problem I had with this, happened in the first chapter of the novel, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then you should probably mute me until I put a little annotation to unmute. But if you don't care, because this literally happens within the first couple pages of this novel, Emma's best friend is an African-American character, and right away I was annoyed because her description was just so stereotypical, and it just made me grit my teeth. You know, they described her with her long fake nails and her weave and her sassy personality. You know, oh, she's so sassy. Oh, she's so in your face. And it's just like, oh, great, a stereotype of a black protagonist, or excuse me, a black character stereotype. Wonderful. And then they proceeded to kill her off in the most gruesome way you could possibly imagine. And while she is literally dying, the book is still focused on Emma. How do you have a death scene where someone is dying, a gruesome, horrific, painful death, and yet we're focusing writing-wise, and we were in Galen's head, because this book is told through dual points of view. Emma's in like first person, and then Galen's was in third person, which another thing I did not like, but that is besides the point. Anyway, so we're kind of seeing things, the death scene through Galen's eyes, and here's this girl dying this horrible death, and all he can focus on is Emma, and, you know, does she need my help? Oh, she's so pretty. And I was just like, really? Okay, so first of all, you kill off the black character like not even 10 pages into the book, and then while she's dying horrific death, you can only focus on Emma, perfect Emma, and oh, does she need my help? Oh, she looks like she's fine. Oh, I don't think anything's wrong. Oh, she's so pretty. Really? Really? Really, Anna Banks? Really? I mean, I feel like a lot of people who are reading this book are reading from a place of privilege. I mean, honestly, in this country, if you are not a person of color, if you're not a person of color, then you are reading from a place of entitlement and privilege that people of color don't necessarily have. And so I don't think a lot of people have noted that. It just left a really bad taste in my mouth. And when I went to the Goodreads after I finished to read the reviews, I was so relieved to find a few reviews that felt, a few reviewers who felt the exact same way that I did. And, you know, some of them had no problem giving this book 1 star because of that, or 2 stars. But I really didn't want to completely trash this novel because of that scene, although I just feel like the whole book as a whole, it was not well done. However, it did end in such a way where I do want to continue. I mean, I have all the books, so I will continue, so we'll see. It ended in a cliffhanger, but just warning. I mean, it's so important to read critically, and it's so important to realize what you bring to a book when you're reading. And if you are a Caucasian person in this country and you're reading this book, you might not really see the problems, you know, and that's why I wanted to point it out, because it was very obvious to me and just distasteful. I'm disappointed, Anna Banks, like so disappointed. If you want to really read a good mermaid book, then I would actually recommend Waterborne, and I don't remember who it's by, but I will put a picture in this video. That is a mermaid, the mermaid myth done right. That book was wonderful, and it was actually one of my favorite books of 2014. This, not so much. Anyways, moving on. I also read Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge, and this is another book I gave 3 stars. This book was not... my reading experience with this was kind of all over the place. It was up and down. This book is about 2 twins who live in this world. It's a fantasy world, and one of the twins is betrothed to kind of like the evil demon ruler of their world. And once she turns a certain age, she has to marry him, and since she's known about this almost her entire life, her father is a part of this organization where they have been training her to kill him so that they can free their entire world from this curse that they've been under since the Demon King came into power. And what it is that there are these demons that roam around in their world, and when a person sees the demon, they go crazy. So yeah, it's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it is very unique. The world is based on Greek mythology, which I thought was also very unique. My problem with it was with the writing. The writing to me felt very undone and incomplete in a weird way. The chapters were very jumpy and patchy in a way. There was no flow to the story. It just felt kind of all over the place, but not all over the place plot-wise. All over the place as though there were no transitional chapters, no transitional scenes. It was just like cut, jump, cut. You know what I mean? Like there was no flow to this. I do have high hopes for Rosamund Hodge as a writer. I mean, there's a lot of promise, and there's a lot of promise in her writing. It just wasn't fully realized and fulfilled in this novel. And I believe this is her debut novel. I'm not quite sure, but to me, it just wasn't completely my cup of tea. I thought the plot was original. I thought the story was interesting, and it kept my attention, but I wasn't like rushing to pick this up, and it wasn't like I was glued to the pages. You know, it took me a couple days to read this when I usually read books in one sitting. I felt that the retelling was interesting, and I didn't see all the, twists and turns coming, so that's something. And I liked that it was based on Greek mythology, and I thought that that was different. I didn't really like the characters though, especially our main character. What's her name? I can't even remember her name. Nyx. Our main character, Nyx, was frustrating. It was very frustrating to be in her head because she was very flip-floppy and wishy-washy. She never really stuck to one thing. She never really stuck to her guns, and she never really evolved throughout the course of the book. She was kind of the same person in the beginning that she was in the end, and that was disappointing. And I felt like she got a free pass for that. Yeah. The Demon King character, Ignifex, I didn't feel strongly for him one way or another. I really didn't. It was just kind of like, okay, meh. And there was like a weirdish love triangle situation, which honestly I thought was irritating and unnecessary. That could have been cut out of the book in edits. It's just not needed. So yeah, I mean, I think that if you are still interested in reading this, you should, but I think that there have been better Beauty and the Beast retellings than this one. But I will probably pick up Rosamund Hodge's second book at some point, just because I do believe that she has a lot of promise as an author. It just wasn't fully realized in this novel. Last book I want to talk about is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, and I absolutely loved this. I gave this 5 stars, and I cannot wait for the sequel, which comes out in July. I've already pre-ordered it, so there you go. And I loved everything about this. This is a fantasy where you have a princess who has been pretty much given away in marriage to this prince of a neighboring kingdom in order to avoid war with another nation. And it's kind of like a political alliance, and she really, really resents her parents for doing this to her, and she herself resents having to marry someone basically sight unseen that she doesn't love. And she also has this kind of power that she's supposed to come into, that every first daughter is supposed to come into, and it's sort of like a I don't know if it's precognition or like she sees visions. I'm not quite sure yet. I guess we'll find out as the books go on. But she has not really come into this power, so she thinks. And so that's kind of where her value lies. You know how they have like dowries and things like that? That's where her value lies. And so she runs away. She says, no, I don't want to do this. So she runs away. And there are two people sent after her. Or rather, two people come after her. And one of them is her jilted bridegroom, the prince of the neighboring kingdom that she was supposed to marry. And the other one is an assassin sent by one of the kingdoms to kill her. And we don't know who's who of the two guys sent after her. And it's kind of like this mystery as we read the book. And it's told from all three of their point of views. So it's very, very intriguing and confusing. And you're on the edge of your seat the whole time because you're trying to figure out, okay, who's the prince? Who's the killer? No, he's the killer. No, he's the prince. And then she's going through her own stuff, running away with her best friend and, you know, starting a new life and, you know, trying to live a normal life. She's grown up a royal with privilege and wealth. And so it's really good, and there's a lot of other stuff going on. And I know a lot of people who don't like this complain that nothing happens. And I think that sometimes people don't understand the difference between a plot-driven novel and a character-driven novel. And some books are managed to strike a perfect balance between the two. But I would say this book is definitely more of a character-driven novel. If you really enjoy being in your characters' heads, you really enjoy character development and watching people go through a journey and develop, character arcs are interesting to you and intriguing, and you really enjoy seeing a world through characters' eyes, then I think you will really love this. But if you're a person that really wants action and you want to see things happen and you don't like lulls in stories, you just want stuff to happen one after the next, and one after the other, after the next, then you might find the first 60% of this novel to be really frustrating and boring, or, you know, slow paced. I will say that. You might find the first, you know, about 60-70% of this novel to be really slow paced. Things really do pick up towards the end, and the way that it ends is really great and really gets you amped up to get your hands on book 2. Overall, I feel that Mary E. Pearson did an amazing job with this first book. Her writing is really beautiful and skillful. There is a hint and a taste of the classic to her writing style, and yet it's still modern and fresh. But it's very almost lyrical in a way, and you can definitely picture everything that's happening beautifully as if it was a film in your brain. I think this would actually make a really good movie. But I really enjoyed this, and I would highly recommend this to anyone who enjoys fantasy, a little bit of intrigue and mystery. And if you want to have an interactive reading experience, that's kind of the best way I have to put it. I had such an interactive reading experience when I was reading this. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time trying to figure out who was who. I know some people were keeping like notes and charts and graphs trying to figure it all out, but it was all part of the fun, and it definitely added to the experience of it. So I highly recommend this one. And there you have it. These are just 4 of the many books I have read recently, and I hope that I have either opened your mind to reading one of these, especially The Kiss of Deception. I highly recommend it. And One Crazy Summer is absolutely amazing. If you are not a big lover of children's lit, then this is a great place to start. I think it's really great for all ages, not just for children. I think that you would definitely be able to easily get into this. Not to mention, being there in the summer of 1968 through the eyes of this book is absolutely fascinating. It's a mirror because we have very similar things happening right now in our country racial-wise. You know what I'm talking about. These are some of the books I've read recently. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts, opinions down below in the comments, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.